Hey guys, check this out. Our picture is almost ready. In this lesson, we will apply our final edits to make this picture even better. Let's get started. First, we need to assess what we want to improve. We want to make sure we haven't missed anything, and if we did, correct our little mistakes. So let's zoom out and see how it looks overall. Different people will catch something different. What jumps at me right away is the background. I want to make it more blue. I go to the background folder and add a curve to this layer. Open the blue channel and raise this point slightly, something like this. Then, lower the uppermost point a little, and maybe raise it a bit over here. Okay. Now the same thing for the red channel. Move the lowest point slightly to the right, so that everything becomes a little more blue. And fix the top point in the center. The digital values should match here. To invert the mask, hold Command+I or Control+I on PC. Then take a white gradient. It's the second one in here. For a fully transparent background, I have it set to white and I begin drawing on the mask. Opacity can be smaller, say 30%. I'm making the background a little more blue. Take away everything from the face. We don't need blue on the face. Great. We figured out the background. What's our next step? I want to add some contrast to this picture. Create a new adjustment layer, Curve. Grab a pointer and drop it in the darkest colors. That's where I'll fix a point. Maybe even lower, like that. Notice that I'm working on a black background. When I work with contrast or shadows, I put a black background to focus on the darkest pixels. Soon we will work with the light pixels, and I will change the background to white. There's no white here, so make it custom. I'm just making sure that my picture looks good on the white background too. I'll move this point a little higher. Let's leave it here. Grab the pointer and drop it on the lightest skin tones. I don't mind how it looks, so I won't do anything here. Here, on the other hand, I'll make it lighter and darken the shaded areas slightly to add volume to the face. I like everything so far, except that the picture is too vibrant in my opinion. Therefore, I will create a vibrance layer and reduce the saturation a little. Although saturation affects all colors compared to vibrancy, its effects are more visible in the red-orange colors. We can see that saturation accumulates in places where we have hair, shadows around the nose and lips, and the skin tones are uneven. So I'll reduce the saturation a little. The next step is to even out the skin tones, making skin color more uniform. It will work well for this particular picture. Make the background black again. I'm probably going to lower this point here and here a little. That'll make our image even more contrasting. You got to be careful not to overdo it. Next, create a new layer and set the blending mode to soft light. Check this out. I already chose a color here. I took that color from the skin tone, right about here. I'm going to make it a little darker and more orange. Okay, maybe not so dark. Next, I grab a brush and set a lower value for flow, around 10% or less. And begin working with the brush without touching the eyes or lips. I go over the least saturated areas while staying away from places that are well saturated. To make your life easier, you can create an additional vibrance layer and add a little saturation. It is important to do it under the layer you are working on. You can freely use the brush, since what we are doing, in essence, is coloring the skin. And so some areas will be more affected than others. Here too, let's add some color. Since the light from the candle is yellowish, we can add more coloring here as well. Okay, now let's delete this additional vibrance layer. Go to the layer below, layer 10, and add a hue saturation layer. But before we do that, let's highlight what we drew. While holding the Command key, Control on PC, click on the layer. You get a little square like this one. This outlines the areas we worked on. And now create my new adjustment layer, Hue Saturation. Let's go ahead and reduce the saturation a bit. I'm not touching layer 10. I'm only reducing the saturation from specific places we worked on. See how it works in patches? Now enable the top layer and adjust the saturation in here so that the skin tones even out. Great. Now let's create another hue saturation layer and attach it to layer 10. This allows us to correct the overall skin tone. We can make it a little lighter. I think it's great like this. Well, our last action is a final adjustment layer. And you guessed it, it's a curve again. We will adjust our color a little. I think there is a bit of purple in our picture and I want predominantly blue colors. So in the red channel, I'm going to fix a point in the middle and lower it a little. And in the blue channel, I can add a bit of yellow, like this. Now the picture looks better, but in my opinion, it's still too red. Therefore, I would make it more blue and yellow. You can reduce the opacity for this layer. Overall, our picture is ready, and all is left to do is save it. But I'll tell you something about that in our next and final class.